Ladies and gentlemen, what I am about to share with you will transform your life in ways you can't even imagine. If you are watching this video right now, it is no accident. God has led you here for a reason, because a powerful shift is happening in your life. Before we dive deeper into this, just pause this video and do three things. Hit that like button, subscribe to help us reach 10,000 subscribers, and must leave a comment with number 66. This number will send a powerful signal to the universe, amplifying the energy of this video. I want to remind you today, God did not bring you this far to leave you. If you're still breathing, God is still working. Life may have thrown you some unexpected challenges, but you are not forgotten. The same God who parted the Red Sea, who shut the mouths of lions, who made dry bones come to life, He is the same God who is watching over you. You may feel like you're stuck, like the dream in your heart is never going to come to pass, but let me encourage you. Delays are not denials. Just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it won't happen. God's timing is perfect, and what He has promised will come to pass at the right moment. Sometimes we face opposition and we think, maybe this is a sign I should give up. No, the opposition is proof of the opportunity ahead. The enemy wouldn't be fighting you so hard if there wasn't something amazing in your future. God never starts something He doesn't finish. He didn't create you to leave you struggling. He didn't call you to abandon you halfway. He sees the end from the beginning, and He knows exactly what He's doing. What you lost, the people who walked away, the opportunities that didn't work out, it wasn't an accident. God is making room for something greater. He is removing the things that are not meant for your destiny so He can give you something better than you ever imagined. You may not understand everything happening right now, but that's okay. You don't have to understand. Just trust. God is working behind the scenes. He's aligning the right people, preparing the right opportunities, setting up divine connections. You are closer than you think. Don't give up now. Don't settle. Keep believing, keep praying, keep expecting. Because when you put your faith in God, nothing is impossible. I declare over you today, your best days are still ahead. You haven't seen your greatest victories. You haven't walked in your biggest blessings. What God has planned is greater than anything you've imagined. So keep standing, keep trusting, keep moving forward, because God did not bring you this far to leave you. Amen. If you're still standing today, it's not by accident. It's not just because you're lucky or because you somehow managed to get through on your own strength. No, you are still here because God has been watching over you, guiding you, protecting you, and sustaining you through it all. There were moments you thought you wouldn't make it. Times when the pressure was too much, when the disappointment was too heavy, when the loss was too painful. But look at you now. You're still here. That alone is proof that God is not finished with you. You've faced battles that seemed too big, obstacles that looked impossible to overcome, and situations where you couldn't see a way out. But here you are, standing stronger, wiser, and more determined than before. That's not because of your own strength. It's because God's hand has been upon your life. Even when you didn't see it, even when you didn't feel it, He was carrying you, covering you, and making a way where there seemed to be no way. Think back to moments in your life when it felt like you wouldn't survive. Maybe it was a financial crisis, a health scare, a betrayal from someone you trusted, or a season of deep loneliness and uncertainty. At the time, it felt like the end. You didn't know how you would recover, how you would find the strength to go on. But somehow, you did. Somehow you made it through. That wasn't by chance. He was strengthening you in the storm, building your faith in the struggle, preparing you for something greater. There's a reason you're still here. If God were done with you, He would have taken you out of the battle. But the fact that you're still standing means there is more ahead, more opportunities, more blessings, more purpose, more favor. Your best days are not behind you. They are still in front of you. What the enemy meant for harm, God is turning for your good. The pain, the struggles, the setbacks, they are not wasted. God is using every single one of them to shape you, to refine you, to position you for something greater than you could ever imagine. You may not understand everything you've been through. You may still have questions, wondering why certain things happened the way they did. But let me remind you, God's ways are higher than our ways. He sees the full picture when we only see a small piece. What feels like a setback is often a setup for something greater. What feels like a loss is often God making room for something better. The relationships that didn't work out, the doors that closed, the opportunities that passed you by, if you could see what God is orchestrating behind the scenes, you wouldn't be discouraged. You would be excited. So don't look at your past with regret. Don't focus on what didn't work out, on the people who walked away, on the mistakes you made. Instead, look at the fact that you are still here. That means God is not done. He has greater things ahead, greater blessings, greater opportunities, greater victories. He has already equipped you with everything you need for the road ahead. His grace is sufficient. His power is made perfect in your weakness, and His promises are still in motion. Hold your head up high. Walk in confidence. Trust that the same God who brought you through the storms of yesterday will carry you into the victories of tomorrow. You are not forgotten. You are not overlooked, and you are not forsaken. You are still standing for a reason. Get ready. Your best is yet to come. When God begins something in your life, He always brings it to completion. He is not a halfway God. He doesn't start a good work in you only to abandon you when things get tough. He doesn't put dreams in your heart only to watch them wither away. If He has placed a promise inside you, you can be sure He will bring it to pass. It may not happen in your timing or the way you expected, but God is faithful. What He starts, He finishes. There may be moments when you feel stuck, when it looks like nothing is changing, when the situation seems too far gone. But just because you don't see progress doesn't mean God isn't working. Behind the scenes, He is aligning the right people, the right opportunities, and the right circumstances. What seems delayed is not denied. What feels unfinished is still unfolding. God doesn't leave His work undone. If He has spoken a word over your life, if He has given you a dream, if He has put a desire in your heart, you can trust that He is working even when you can't see it. Sometimes we go through seasons where it feels like God has forgotten us. We wonder if He changed His mind, if maybe we missed our chance, if the opposition is too great. But God never abandons His purpose. He doesn't get discouraged by obstacles. He isn't limited by time. What looks like a dead end to us is just another chapter in His divine plan. Think about Joseph. He had a dream, but before he saw it come to pass, he was thrown into a pit, sold into slavery, falsely accused, and imprisoned. If you had seen him in those moments, you might have thought his dream was over. But God had not finished what He started. Every trial was part of the process, leading him to the palace, to a position of power, to the fulfillment of his destiny. The same is true for you. The challenges you face are not the end of your story. The setbacks, the disappointments, the delays, they are all part of the journey. God is using them to shape you, to prepare you, to position you. What you thought was a failure, what you thought was the end, is just another step toward the fulfillment of His promise. He is not finished yet. You may have prayed for something and it hasn't happened. You may have stepped out in faith and faced opposition. You may feel tired, discouraged, or uncertain about the future. But let this truth sink into your spirit. God is still working. He hasn't forgotten you. He hasn't abandoned His plan. He is the author and the finisher of your faith. If He opened a door, no one can shut it. If He called you, no one can take that calling away. If He started a good work in you, He will be faithful to complete it. Keep believing, keep trusting, keep moving forward. Just because it's taken longer than you thought doesn't mean it's not going to happen. God's timing is perfect. He knows what He's doing. What He has spoken over your life is still in motion. You are not forgotten. You are not a lost cause. You are in the middle of a process. And when the time is right, you will step into everything God has prepared for you. Hold on to your faith. Keep your heart full of expectation. Don't let delays or obstacles make you doubt what God has promised. If He started it, He will finish it. If He called you, He will equip you. If He spoke it, He will bring it to pass. Stay in faith, keep pressing forward, and watch as God completes the good work He began in you. Your story is not over. God is still writing the next chapter. Just because something hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it's not going to happen. Too often, we mistake delays for denials. We pray, we believe, we stand in faith, but when we don't see immediate results, we get discouraged. We start to think maybe God changed His mind. Maybe we weren't supposed to have that blessing. Maybe that dream wasn't meant for us. But let me remind you today, a delay is not a denial. Just because it's taking longer than you expected doesn't mean it's not on the way. God's timing is not always our timing, but His timing is always perfect. When God gives you a promise, when He plants a dream in your heart, there will be seasons of waiting. There will be times when nothing seems to be happening, when doors stay closed, when the situation doesn't look any different. That's when the enemy will whisper, "It's never going to happen. You might as well give up. It's too late." But you have to remind yourself that God is never late. He knows exactly when to bring it to pass. The delay is not a sign that God has forgotten you. It's a sign that He is preparing something greater. Look at the story of Abraham. God promised him a son, but years went by and nothing happened. Abraham could have given up. He could have let the delay convince him that it was never going to happen, but he chose to trust God. And at the right time, the promise came to pass. If what you're believing for hasn't happened yet, it's not because God has changed His mind. It's because He is working behind the scenes, setting things up, making sure everything is in place. Sometimes we think we're ready, but God knows we're not. He sees what we can't see. He knows what's up ahead. If He gave us the blessing too soon, we might not be able to handle it. He is not just preparing the blessing for us. He is preparing us for the blessing. That job you're believing for, that relationship you've been waiting on, that breakthrough you need, God is making sure that when it comes, you will be ready to step into it with confidence. We also have to understand that just because something is delayed doesn't mean it won't happen in a greater way than we imagine. Sometimes God delays things because what He has in store is much bigger than what we expected. You may be praying for a door to open, but God has a whole new level of opportunity coming your way. You may be asking for a small breakthrough, but God is setting you up for something beyond your wildest dreams. What you thought was a delay was actually divine preparation. Think about Joseph. He had a dream that he would one day be in a position of leadership, but before that dream came to pass, he was thrown into a pit, sold into slavery, falsely accused, and put in prison. It looked like everything was going in the opposite direction. But Joseph's delay was not a denial. It was part of God's plan to position him for something greater than he ever imagined. At the right time, Joseph was promoted to second in command over all of Egypt. If God had done it sooner, he wouldn't have been ready. If he had given up in the delay, he would have missed out on the destiny God had prepared for him. The same is true for you. What you're believing for is still in motion. Just because you don't see anything happening doesn't mean God isn't working. His ways are higher than our ways. His thoughts are greater than our thoughts. What He started, He will finish. Stay in faith. Keep trusting. Keep declaring His promises. Because when the time is right, what was delayed will come to pass in a way greater than you ever imagined. Your delay is not your denial. Your breakthrough is on its way. When you face great opposition, it's often a sign that something incredible is on the other side. The enemy doesn't waste his time attacking people who aren't a threat. If you're experiencing resistance, if you're up against obstacles, if you feel like everything is coming against you, that's not a sign to give up. It's a sign to press forward. The opposition is proof of the opportunity ahead. Too often when we encounter challenges, we start to question if we're on the right path. We think, maybe this is a sign I should quit. Maybe I heard God wrong. Maybe this dream isn't meant for me. But just the opposite is true. The enemy wouldn't be fighting you if you weren't headed toward something great. He sees what God has in store for you. He knows the impact you're about to make. He recognizes the favor on your life. That's why He's working overtime to discourage you, to wear you down, to make you think it's not worth it. Look at David. Before he became king, he had to face Goliath. That giant wasn't there to defeat him. It was there to promote him. David's biggest challenge became the very thing that propelled him into his destiny. What if he had backed down? What if he had seen the size of the opposition and decided it was too much? He would have missed his moment. But David understood that opposition wasn't a sign of defeat. It was a sign that victory was near. The same is true for you. The challenges you're facing right now are not random. They are not there to stop you. They are there to prepare you. They are pushing you into the next level of your purpose. The bigger the opposition, the bigger the opportunity. If you weren't about to step into something significant, the enemy wouldn't be fighting you so hard. That sickness, that financial struggle, that betrayal is not the end of your story. It's proof that something greater is coming. Think about Joseph. God gave him a dream that he would one day be in a position of leadership. But instead of moving straight into his destiny, he faced betrayal, false accusations, and years in prison. From the outside, it looked like everything was going in the wrong direction. But in reality, the opposition was setting him up for something greater. Had he not been thrown into the pit, he wouldn't have ended up in Potiphar's house. Had he not been falsely accused, he wouldn't have been in prison. And had he not been in prison, he wouldn't have met the person who would one day introduce him to Pharaoh. Every setback was a setup. The opposition was actually positioning him for the opportunity of a lifetime. What you're facing right now may not make sense. It may feel unfair. You may be wondering why you're dealing with so much resistance. But if you could see what God sees, you wouldn't be discouraged. You would be excited. The very thing that looks like it's against you is what God is going to use to elevate you. The closed doors, the delays, the disappointments, they are all part of the process. Don't let the pressure make you give up. Don't let the struggle convince you to settle. If the enemy is coming at you full force, that's because he knows you're about to step into something incredible. Stay in faith. Keep pressing forward. Trust that God is working all things together for your good. The opposition is not a sign that you're failing. It's a sign that you're on the verge of victory. Breakthrough is closer than you think. Nothing in your life is a surprise to God. He sees the end from the beginning. Before you ever face that challenge, before you ever walk through that difficulty, before you ever encountered that setback, God already knew how He was going to bring you through it. He is not figuring things out as He goes. He is not reacting to circumstances or scrambling to come up with a plan. He saw every detail of your life before you were even born, and He has already made a way for you to walk in victory. When we face uncertainty, it's easy to get anxious and wonder how everything is going to work out. We see the problem in front of us, but God sees the solution. We see the closed door, but he sees the one he's about to open. We see the loss, but he sees the restoration that is on the way. If we could see our lives the way God sees them, we wouldn't be stressed, we wouldn't be worried, and we wouldn't be discouraged. We would walk in peace, knowing that the same God who brought us this far already knows how he is going to finish what he started. Think about Joseph. When he was sold into slavery by his own brothers and later thrown into prison for a crime he didn't commit, it looked like his dreams were shattered. If you had seen him in that moment, you might have thought his story was over. But God saw the end from the beginning. He knew that years later, Joseph would be promoted to a position of great influence, saving an entire nation from famine. What seemed like a dead end was actually a setup for his destiny. The same is true for you. What may feel like a disappointment right now, what may seem like a delay, is not the end of your story. God already has the final chapter written, and it ends in victory. God's perspective is so much higher than ours. We see only a small part of the picture, but he sees the entire masterpiece. That's why we can trust him even when we don't understand. That's why we can keep moving forward even when things don't make sense. Just because you don't see how it's going to happen doesn't mean God doesn't have a way. He specializes in making the impossible possible. When the Israelites were fleeing Egypt and found themselves trapped between the Red Sea and Pharaoh's army, from their perspective, they were out of options. But God wasn't worried. He already had the answer before they even knew there was a problem. With one command, he parted the waters, making a way where there was no way. The same God who parted the Red Sea is working in your life today. He already knows how to bring the right people into your path, how to turn that situation around, how to open the doors that need to be opened. Just because you don't see it yet doesn't mean it's not coming. You may be facing a difficult season right now, but take heart. God has already seen the outcome. He has already lined up the breakthrough, the healing, the provision, and the restoration. Your job is not to figure out how everything will work out. Your job is to trust him. Don't let the uncertainty of today make you doubt the promises of God. He is the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. If he brought you to it, he will bring you through it. What he started in your life, he will finish. Walk in faith, hold your head high, and keep believing, because God has already seen the victory that is coming your way. You may not realize it, but you are closer than you think to the breakthrough you've been praying for, the dream you've been believing for, the answer you've been waiting on, the victory that seems so far away. It's closer than you can imagine. The enemy would love to convince you that it's never going to happen, that you've waited too long, that you've missed your chance. But the truth is, just because you don't see any signs of progress doesn't mean things aren't falling into place. God is working behind the scenes, aligning the right people, the right opportunities, and the right circumstances. Too often we get discouraged because we don't see things changing. We've been praying, believing, doing our best, but it seems like nothing is happening. That's when thoughts of doubt try to creep in. Maybe it's not meant to be. Maybe I should just settle where I am. But what you can't see is that God is moving things in your favor. One shift, one touch of his favor, one unexpected opportunity, and everything can change. What if you knew that next week your situation would turn around? What if you knew that tomorrow you would meet the right person, that next month the opportunity would show up? You wouldn't be discouraged. You would be excited, full of faith, pressing forward with confidence. This is what faith is all about, believing that what God promised is already in motion, even when there's no evidence yet. It's easy to trust when you see the finish line, when you have confirmation, when everything is falling into place. But real faith is trusting when there are no signs, when you're tired, when you feel like giving up. That's when you have to remind yourself, I am closer than I think. I can't stop now. My breakthrough is on the way. Think about the Israelites when they marched around the walls of Jericho. God told them to march for 6 days, but nothing happened. The walls didn't shake. There were no cracks, no signs that anything was changing. It would have been easy to give up, to think it wasn't working. But on the 7th day, after they marched one more time, the walls came crashing down. What if they had stopped on the 6th day? What if they had let their frustration keep them from finishing? They were closer than they realized, and the same is true for you. Sometimes the greatest resistance comes right before the breakthrough. The pressure intensifies, the obstacles look bigger, the delays seem longer. That's because the enemy knows you're about to step into something great. He wouldn't be fighting you this hard if you weren't on the verge of victory. When you feel the most discouraged, when the battle seems the hardest, that's when you need to dig in your heels and say, I'm not quitting, I'm not giving up. I've come too far to stop now. God has not brought you this far to leave you. He didn't place that dream in your heart just to watch it fade away. Every prayer, every sacrifice, every act of obedience, it's all leading you to the breakthrough that's closer than you think. Keep pushing forward, keep believing, keep declaring His promises over your life. You are not far from your victory. You are not far from the doors opening, from the healing manifesting, from the turnaround happening. Stay in faith, stay in expectation, and don't let doubt talk you out of what God has already planned. You are right on the edge of something amazing. Don't stop now, because your breakthrough is closer than you think. You may not see it yet, but you are closer than you think to the breakthrough you've been praying for. The dream that feels so far away, the answer you've been waiting on, the opportunity that seems impossible, it's closer than you can imagine. Just because you don't see any signs of progress doesn't mean things aren't shifting in your favor. God is always working behind the scenes, orchestrating things in ways you can't see. A touch of His favor, one open door, one divine connection, and everything can change in an instant. Too often we get discouraged because it feels like nothing is happening. We've been praying, believing, and doing our best, but the situation looks the same. The enemy whispers, it's never going to happen. You've waited too long. It's too late. But let me remind you, delay is not denial. What God has promised is still on the way. Just because you don't see movement doesn't mean things aren't shifting in the supernatural. Think about a seed that's planted in the ground. For weeks, it looks like nothing is happening. The soil looks the same. There's no sign of growth. But under the surface, in a place you can't see, the seed is opening. Roots are forming. Life is beginning. If you judge it too soon, you might think it's dead. But if you wait in the right season, that seed will break through the soil and begin to flourish. That's what's happening in your life right now. Just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not growing. You are closer than you think. The challenge is the closer you get, the harder it often seems. The pressure intensifies. The obstacles look bigger. And the waiting feels longer. That's because the enemy knows you're on the verge of something great. He wouldn't be fighting you this hard if you weren't about to step into something incredible. The moments when you feel the most exhausted, the most tempted to give up, are often the moments right before your breakthrough. Look at the story of the Israelites at Jericho. God told them to march around the city walls for 6 days, but nothing changed. No cracks in the walls, no signs of progress. They could have said, this isn't working, why keep going? But on the 7th day, after marching one more time, the walls came crashing down. What if they had quit on day 6? What if they had walked away when they were just one lap away from victory? The same is true for you. You may be on your 6th lap, closer than you realize. This is not the time to quit. This is not the time to let doubt and frustration take over. You are right on the edge of what you've been praying for. The enemy would love for you to give up now. He wants you to get discouraged, to walk away, to settle for less than what God has for you. But you have to stand strong. Keep praying, keep believing, keep declaring God's promises. You didn't come this far to stop now. God is a finisher. What He started in your life, He will complete. The doors He has planned to open for you, no one can shut. The victory He has in store for you is already set in motion. You don't have to figure out how it will happen. Just trust that He is leading you toward it. Don't let weariness cause you to miss what's coming. Keep going. Keep your faith strong. You are closer than you think. Your breakthrough, your healing, your promotion, your answered prayer, it's just ahead. Don't stop now. Sometimes in life we go through losses that don't make sense. People walk away, opportunities slip through our fingers, doors close that we thought would stay open. It's easy to feel discouraged, to wonder why things didn't work out, to think that if we had just held on a little longer, maybe things would have been different. But here's the truth. What you lost wasn't needed for your destiny. If it were necessary, God would have allowed it to stay. If that relationship, that job, that opportunity was essential for you to fulfill your purpose, it wouldn't have left your life. God never takes something away without having something better in store. When you lose something, it's not a surprise to Him. He sees the big picture. He knows where He's taking you, and He knows what it will take to get you there. Sometimes we hold on to things that were only meant to be temporary. We try to make them permanent because they feel comfortable, familiar, and safe. But if God allowed it to leave, that means it served its purpose. That means it was a part of your story for a season, but it wasn't meant to be part of your final destination. Look at the story of Joseph. He was betrayed by his own brothers, sold into slavery and falsely accused. He could have looked at everything he lost, his family, his freedom, his reputation, and thought his life was over. But what he lost wasn't needed for his destiny. If he had stayed in his father's house, he would have never reached the throne. The betrayal, the hardship, and the closed doors were all part of God's plan to take him to a greater place. The same is true for you. That person who walked away, that job you didn't get, that opportunity that fell through, it may have been painful, but it wasn't necessary for where God is taking you. If it were meant to be a part of your future, God would have made a way for it to stay. Instead of focusing on what you lost, shift your perspective to what's ahead. God never removes something without replacing it with something better. Sometimes loss is a sign that God is about to do something new. If you didn't lose that job, you wouldn't step into the career God really has for you. If that relationship hadn't ended, you wouldn't be free for the person God is preparing for you. What feels like a setback is actually a setup for something greater. Don't get stuck mourning what He's doing. Trust that God knows what He's doing. Keep moving forward with confidence, knowing that everything you need to fulfill your destiny is still in front of you. What God has planned for you is bigger, better, and beyond what you could have imagined. What you lost wasn't a mistake. It was making room for something greater. The storms of life can feel overwhelming. You may be facing challenges that seem impossible to overcome. A health battle, financial struggles, betrayal, or uncertainty about the future. It's easy to wonder why God would allow these difficulties. But what if the storm isn't there to break you, but to strengthen you? What if the very thing you're going through is what God is using to prepare you for something greater? God never allows a storm unless He has a purpose for it. He doesn't send the challenges, but He does use them. Just like a tree that grows stronger when it faces the wind, your faith grows stronger in the storms of life. The resistance, the pressure, the struggle, it's all making you stronger, more resilient, more prepared for what's ahead. If you'd never faced opposition, if everything was easy, you wouldn't reach the fullness of your potential. Look at the disciples in the boat when the storm came. The wind was raging, the waves were crashing, and they were terrified. But Jesus was in the boat with them. He wasn't panicked. He wasn't afraid. He stood up and spoke to the storm, and immediately everything became calm. The storm didn't come to destroy them. It came to reveal God's power in their lives. After that moment, their faith was stronger. They had seen firsthand that even in the middle of the storm, God was in control. You may be in the middle of a storm right now. It may feel like everything is coming against you. But remember this, God is with you. He's not worried, He's not caught off guard, and He's not going to let you go under. The very thing that looks like it's going to take you out is what God is going to use to lift you up. Sometimes the storm comes because God is getting ready to take you to a new level. The opposition, the delays, the difficulties, they are not signs that God has forgotten you. They are signs that He is preparing you. Every great destiny comes with great challenges. Every strong person of faith has walked through storms that shape them into who they are. Think about an eagle. When a storm comes, most birds hide, but not the eagle. It spreads its wings and lets the storm carry it higher. That's what God wants you to do. Don't let the storm defeat you. Let it lift you. Let it push you into a greater faith, a greater trust, a greater understanding of who God is. You may not see it now, but this storm is strengthening you. One day you'll look back and realize that what you thought was meant to harm you actually prepared you for your destiny. The storm isn't a sign that God has left you. It's a sign that He's building you into who you were created to be. Stay strong, keep believing, and know that on the other side of this storm, greater things are waiting for you. God is faithful to His word. What He has spoken over your life, what He has placed in your heart, the dreams, the promises, they are not empty words. God's promises are yes and amen. That means when He declares something, it is settled. When He says you are blessed, you are blessed. When He says He will restore, He will restore. When He says He will make a way, He will make a way. Life may try to tell you otherwise. Circumstances may not line up with what God promised. You may be facing obstacles, delays, or disappointments. But just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it's not going to happen. God's timing is perfect. What He started, He will finish. He is not a man that He should lie, and He never makes a promise He doesn't intend to keep. Abraham understood this. God told him he would be the father of many nations. But years went by and nothing changed. He and his wife Sarah were well past childbearing years. In the natural, it looked impossible. But God's promises are not dependent on human ability. Abraham chose to believe, and at the right time, Sarah gave birth to Isaac. God did exactly what He said He would do. Maybe you're waiting on a promise right now. Maybe God has spoken something to your heart, but it feels like it's never going to happen. Don't let doubt creep in. The delay is not a denial. The enemy would love for you to give up, to believe that it's too late, that you missed your chance. But what God has spoken over your life is still on the way. He is faithful to fulfill His word. Think about the Israelites. God promised them a land flowing with milk and honey. The journey took longer than expected. There were battles, delays, and times when they doubted. But even